Well, good morning, Queensway. Now is the time that we get to do a little tutorial on your homework. So some of you already on Friday, maybe in the mail, received something that looked a lot like this. And then most of you are probably going to receive it on Monday or Tuesday. We were at the mercy of Canada Post. So you'll see that we've sent you a little envelope here, and you should know that the cost for this particular production did not hit the bottom line for the church. We had a generous donation to cover the cost to mail everyone in the church this little project. But we have something fun planned for you, so now it's time. It's time to open up your Christmas card. Are you ready? Here it is. Let's do this together. Okay, oh, tape, very good. Very COVID appropriate tape. We didn't lick the envelope. That's good. What have we got here? Oh my goodness. We have a write your own Magnificat assignment. Yes, you get to write the lyrics to your own Magnificat, and I'm going to show you how. Amazing? But yes, here it goes. Very good. So the question that you might be asking yourself is, why would I do that? Why would I write a Magnificat? What's in it for me? The good old question. Well, actually what I found was I spent about 2 hours. You will need about 2 hours to do this if you want to do it all in one shot. If you want to break it up into maybe 3 sections, that might take 3 hours in total, 1 hour each. But what's in it for me? Well, I can tell you that my spirit was refreshed. I could not believe. I don't write. I'm not a journaler. I don't really do this. So this was a first time exercise for me. So I followed the steps that are laid out in this worksheet, and wouldn't you know it, I wrote the lyrics to a song. I couldn't believe it. And my soul was refreshed. The rest of my day went better than it ever had. And the rest of my week was improved. My spirit was lifted up. Worshiping God is always great. The other thing in the exercises is you're going to focus on personal praise, praise for God's work with others, and then praise with God's work at our church. And doing all 3 focuses actually really sharpened my attention to what God is doing in my life. And wouldn't we all like to know more of that? So what are you going to need to be able to do this exercise? Well, you're going to need a highlighter, you're going to need a pen, and you're going to need a cup of coffee. Like I said, 2 hours. So let's get to it. Okay, so here we are. We are on our first step. The overview here, I did think that I thought it would be good for me to just help everyone understand the difference between the word praise and the word worship. Praise is what God has, is, or is going to do. It's like a verb. And worship is who God actually is. So we're going to be interchanging between praise and worship. So here we are to section A, and you can see that we've put some of the lines of the Magnificat, the part of Mary's song that is very personal. In this first line, you can see that she's talking about present tense. Then she moves into a past tense and into a future tense praise. And we're going to try that together. We're going to do that one at a time. So let's just look at the first instruction. Consider an attitude or a circumstance that no longer holds you captive, but used to. And so I'm looking down here and I can see that it's probably either an attitude that I had, I call this, our internal dilemma, internal sin, if you will, or maybe something external in your life was really holding you down. So as I pass through some of these words here, I could see times where I really felt poor. So I've got a circle here. My family, my wife and I had to bankrupt once, and that was really a time where poverty would have been the best word to describe us. Underqualified, I've experienced that, powerless. But really for me, the most important area in my life where God has touched it is over here in my attitudes. Career addicted. This is the one that really caught my attention because this is one that I've been liberated from recently. I am still struggling with a couple of them. I struggle with excessiveness, with opinionated, and power obsessed. So this is a look for me. So God has freed me from, up here, I will end up putting this one in, career addicted. Okay, there we have it. I wrote in the word career addicted with my terrible penmanship. And now, through the rest of the document, you're going to feel like I'm picking up the pace here. So now I'm being asked that if I did on this front page an attitude, then I'm going to do the X section. But if I did a circumstance, I'm going to jump straight to the Y. And so it's asking me to think of a holy idea from God that really helped liberate me from my career addiction. So I'm going to fill that in now. Okay, so I've got the one I picked hope, but really I find mercy as a strong runner-up, so I put them both in here. And this Y section, this isn't the one I selected, so I'm just going to jump through this one and head on over to the next page here. Stage 3 here, when you consider the effect of God's redeeming work in your life, of what it has had, what disposition towards God comes to mind? And for me, there were really 4. The thirsting, the trusting, the acclaiming, and the dedicating. And then as I went to the next section, number 4 here, what do you feel growing inside of you that is clearly unnatural to you and can only be explained by the supernatural work of God? Well, I had 3 again. I feel humility, I feel joy, and innocence on their way. Nothing's ever completed. Okay, so I had selected 4 and 3 here, but the drill is to get it down to 1. So I guess I've gone with my top ones here. I'm going to want to keep some of this handy, so I'm going to keep this where I can see it, and I'll turn over here. All right, so now this one, I see a couple of shadowed numbers here. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna need to remember that these are here because we're gonna do a full carryover here at the end of the exercise. So just pay attention, those numbers are here. Describe your present praise in 2 statements using 2 different dispositions from 3. Where was that? Oh yes, that was here again. There's 3. And then what is it saying? Be sure to include 2 keywords from number 2, which was over, yes, here. Okay, I've taken my first try at these 2 statements. What did I come up with? Well, I had picked the disposition of I trust you, and I had picked a keyword of victories and failures that I had picked up from section 2. And so this is what I came up with one of my sentences. I trust in you, for you have shown me your victories in my failures. The second one I came up with is I acclaim you for the mercy that you have shown me. So these keywords came from both section 3 and section 2 before it. Okay, great. Let's move on to number 2 here. Why do you feel your present praise? We're going to get that from number 1, way back at the beginning. And how did God do it from a keyword from number 2? So I'm going to try to do that and put that into a sentence. Okay, I've given it a shot here. I had picked from section 1 that I had been freed from my career addiction and that it was hope. It was hope that after I am done failing, God begins his victorious work. So here's my sentence. You freed me from the desperate need to succeed at work, ambition, politics, and game playing by preparing my next career while I was busy self-annihilating my own. Okay, next up, based on how God has behaved in your life in both past and present, you have every reason to believe he will carry on as your Redeemer in the future. Find a description of God that you have not used yet from number 2 that would cover both your past and your present praise. I'm going to give that a try. Okay, so I managed to come up with the sentence because God is the author and perfecter of my faith. Next up, select a fruit of the Spirit from number 4. Okay, I think I've picked mine. I've picked mercy in the form of innocence. And what's this last task? Let's take these 2 and put them together into a sentence. Okay, I'm going to give it a go. Okay, here's the sentence I came up with. Finish what you have started in me. You have shown me mercy that I may learn to see others as you do. Innocent. And that completes number 3. On to section B. Okay, great. We're in section B. This is when we stop focusing on just ourselves and we start to look at others. In this section, we admit that God works for both those who are self-sufficient and those who are not. Often, the work required for those that are self-sufficient is actually a work of deconstruction. One is unable to be rescued or redeemed until they're in a position of helplessness. Those who are already in a position of great need are far closer to God's redemptive work than those who are presently self-sufficient. Notice the presence of both groups in Mary's Magnificat, resulting in God's treatment. So we're going to look at these first 3 lines right here at the top and try to create our 3 lines for ourselves. In your own words, write 2 or 3 sentences that capture this idea above in your own song. Well, that's going to be a tough one. Okay, so what did I come up with here? You rescue all who wait on you. You always have and you always will. But you also cause us to wait on you. You always have, you always will. Okay, moving on to our next section. We're actually going to now identify 2 others that come to mind who are self-sufficient. They are unaware of their need for God. We're going to try to identify the dilemma that we think needs to be deconstructed before they will actually be aware of their need. And then on the other side, you're going to do 2 others who are quite aware of their need and are ready for rescuing. And again, what dilemma do they need to be rescued from? Let's see how I do. Okay, so the 2 others that I've picked who are unaware of their need for God, I've got a whole side of the family that I've isolated here, and also Canada, I think our own country. These are the 2 that I've picked. Arrogance, intelligence, and pride are the particular dilemmas that I've identified for them, respectively. As far as the 2 others that I'm thinking of that are already on their knees and quite ready for help from God, from the Redeemer, there's a particular family member I have in mind. I couldn't name this person just because we're on video, but I would encourage you to be very specific in yours. And where our church is, Henderson Survey, there are some very obvious needs and they know they need it. So brokenness, emptiness, and I added one here, visceral, that very, very intense emotional vulnerability. Okay, moving into the next section, this is just training us to notice the reversals. As we read through here, we can see that God is reversing fortunes. And so the exercise is to just show the reversals on each side of the line. Once we've done that, we're going to write 4 statements here that identify the God-caused reversals that we hope for based on the people we've identified and the dilemmas that they're suffering with. So let's see how I do with this. Okay, so up here, these came right out of the passage. I'll just go over the first 2 with you because I don't want to do the rest. I want you to do that yourself. You can see that mercy is paired with fear as the reversal in the opening line. His mercy is for those who fear him. Scattered thoughts of the proud. That would be scattered thoughts on the one side of the line. Proud on the other is the reversal. Let's see if you can fill out the rest as you go down. When I got to my 4 statements of God-caused reversals, I was thinking about the 4 others that I have identified. And so when it came to the one side of my family, what did I write? I wrote all they have achieved amounts to nothing. So the achieving and the amounting to nothing is the great reversal. When it comes to Canada, I wrote frustrate their inoculation of prosperity and security. So again, we're frustrating the prosperity and the security. Onto this side, I picked a particular family member in Henderson Survey. So what did I come up with for my family member? What I wrote here was love the rejected, want the unwanted, totally. And then finally for Henderson Survey, I put a question mark because I have to do some research. And so I will do some research, but that's work I need to do later. Okay, we're moving into our final section, so I'll just tuck away section B, bring forward section C here. Numbers 6 and 7 is what we're looking at. What's section C about? Well, it's actually about focusing in on Queensway Baptist Church, us. This section is asking us to consider our unique calling as God's people. In our case, we will limit it to our own church, Queensway Baptist Church. So Israel failed continuously to execute her function, her service, her purpose. You can see in here, right in the Magnificat up here, it's mercy to the servant Israel that's being identified here. God sent Jesus to help her accomplish her original calling. Jesus was Israel's help in redeeming Israel to her original call. So I'd like us to think about this for ourselves. Is QBC experiencing a deconstructing work of God in preparation of a redeeming act? Or is QBC already in a helpless posture, ready to receive God's mercy and restoration to our original calling? So I'm actually going to get us to rewrite this section of the Magnificat, sliding in Queensway Baptist Church. Okay, so here I've done it. He has helped his servant, Queensway Baptist Church, in remembrance of his mercy. Kind of got a bit of a searing ring to it now, doesn't it? Okay, and we're getting close to the end here. Considering the following questions, this is going to help us here with verse 55, these last two lines here. What is God doing in the present, right now, to ready us for redemption? What was Queensway Baptist Church original call and vision? Who and what has been here all along? Well, let's see what I can come up with. Okay, so this one was a bit of a struggle for me because I'm new with the church and I'm just getting to know some people. So some of you will do a better job answering these two questions than I did. So I put some time in on this first question. Here's what I came up with. What is God doing in the present to ready us for redemption? I wrote down some words. There's a purging that feels like is going on, kind of a baselining. There's also some exciting new, fresh people to the body. But it does feel like we're getting down to the essentials. So these are the words I wrote down. And really, I've got question marks on these next two for myself. So I think I'm going to do some research and try to figure out if I can find out what was QBC's original call and vision from her first founders. Okay, and now this next exercise, write 1 or 2 sentences in the style of verse 55 up here, with these considerations that I just thought about in mind. So I'm going to give this a go, and I'll make it a bit poetic. Okay, well, I got a little carried away with the letter P, so we'll see if you guys like this. Here's what I wrote as my closing to my Magnificat. Purge and protect us. Plant and pollinate us, so that we can propagate according to your plan. Okay, and now for the grand finale. So here's Mary's full Magnificat, and very soon, here comes mine. All right, let's see how this goes. I can see over here these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and those correspond with these little gray numbers over here, 7, 6, 5, there's a 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so I just need to take these and transpose them over, and I might need to smooth a couple of bumps out to make the English make sense. Let's see how it goes. Okay, drum roll, here goes. This is Dave's Magnificat. My soul trusts in you. I have seen your victories amidst my failures, and my spirit acclaims you for the mercy you have shown me. For you have looked on me and declared my innocence. For behold, you have liberated my heart from previous wrongful desires, and he who is mighty has done great things for me, and has caused me to have his eyes for others. And his mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. Your mercy exalts what is weak in the eyes of men. Your love destroys what the proud put their trust in. All that the strong have achieved amounts to nothing. You have made our prosperity unsafe. Yet you love the rejected and desire communion with the unwanted. You have helped your servant, Queensway Baptist Church, in remembrance of your mercy. As you prune us and protect us, plant us and pollinate us, and propagate us according to your glorious plan. Amen. Well, congratulations. Congratulations, you did it. You wrote your first song to God. Or maybe you're a vet and you've done this many times before. But for me, I wrote my first song to God. I hope you feel refreshed by this exercise. Maybe you should pass it on, share it on. I'm going to actually write mine, type it out, and put it into either a frame or a Christmas ornament, something that I bring out once a year, because I want to actually remind myself of my Magnificat next Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone this season. We'll see you next week.